Well, damn, it hasn't even been a week yet, and we got some big news and updates for Outriders. So if you want to know everything that you need to know about the recent update, including a lot of the nerfs that they have for some of the abilities, a lot of the nerfs that they brought, well, I guess they're really not nerfs, but we'll say some of the rebalancing is the terminology that they're using. Some of the rebalancing that they've been doing for expeditions and for some of the classes, then you guys are going to want to pay attention because I'm going to be talking about those soon in the recent update for Outriders. Now, if you guys are not yet subscribed, I would totally invite you to become a subscriber because we're going to be doing a lot of Outriders content here on this channel. Everything you need to know from news, updates, endgame builds, legendary farming, what builds are best for expeditions, etc, etc. So I don't want you guys to miss out on that. And of course, if you become a subscriber, it does a lot of help for the channel. And honestly, I'm going to shut up and stop talking and get into the big update. All right, so moving on to the update and moving on to some of the things that they noted. Just before I go ahead and get started, I just want to note that I will put a link in the description below for all of the notes. So if you want to go ahead and read those yourself, you can definitely go ahead and do so. But I will go ahead and try to cover the main things that you guys want to know about in this video. So starting on this page, if you look at it, we have patch news. So that's anything for crashes, matchmaking issues, and more. So if you're having issues with that, go ahead and check that out. They also have a community appreciation package. So if you guys haven't opened up Outriders after the patch today, there is a thank you package for you, and I highly recommend that you go ahead and check that out. Now moving on to inventory wipes and restoration. If you've been having issues with some of your gear missing, some of your stuff is gone, etc., you can go ahead and check that out because obviously they're continuing to see that people or players are having that issue and they want to try to get that resolved as much as possible and help you out as much as possible if they can. Now we're going to go ahead and skip rebalancing because this is where all the juicy details are. Now moving on to multiplayer stability and connection. If you're still having issues with this, a lot of people are. Some are having different issues on different platforms. Some just can't get it at all. There's a lot of different fixes that are out there. You can go ahead and check this page out and there should hopefully be a fix for you, or some other people should be discussing similar issues that they're having that you have, so you can go ahead and check that out. Now without further ado, let's go ahead and check out all of the nerfs that basically came after week 1. All right, so Outrider devs are calling this quote-unquote rebalancing, which is short for we're going to take everything that you guys have found that works really well and we're going to nerf it to bring it down from here to here on the same level as some of the other stuff. So hopefully you know, Trickster, Pyromancer, and Technomancer, you guys might be a little bit upset. And then for Devastators, you guys might be a little bit more happy because it's going to be a little bit more balanced and you're not going to look like the weakling. And you're comparing all of those stats from that expedition. Who knows? Now, the first thing here is Historian, Bounty Hunt, and Monster Hunt quests no longer grant legendary items for each subsequent completion. Meaning if you complete all 10 of those Monster Hunt quests and you go and turn them in, you can only get a legendary once. So, you know, I did do a video on this and said that you could get a bunch of epics and you could get one legendary and keep doing it and doing it. Now you can only get those epics. So, you know, rip to that method if that's what you're relying on for some of those legendaries. But don't worry because I will be doing a video very shortly on a better method to get some legendaries. Now, they also pointed out that with the rewards, they did make an adjustment to eliminate a bug that people were exploiting that basically caused them to get a lot of good loot. Where if you had, you know, like 2 or more players, you guys could go ahead and turn in all of your quests except for one, and then you guys could go ahead and just do that again, that final one. So they did go ahead and make sure that they, you know, fix that bug. And most importantly, they said that players who took advantage of that exploit would not be punished. Now, this is the type of things that I love to see from devs because, you know, if players find a bug and they exploit it, honestly, that's a good euphoric feeling for us, right? At first, we found this bug, we got all this crazy stuff, we found something to work how it shouldn't, but because of that, we brought it to the light, and now the devs can fix it and we don't get punished. I love to see stuff like that because from the beginning, a lot of players were nervous because they were starting to punish a lot of players that found bugs and exploited them in the demo. And honestly, I don't think that's the right way to handle it. I get their intent, but at the same time, the more people find bugs, the more you can fix. And I think from a dev standpoint, especially me being a dev on my 9-to-5 job, that's the best thing you can do is have people point out bugs and then you get them fixed. So with that being said, they're not punishing anybody. Don't need to worry. Moving on to adjusted loot on specific enemies. So for the Tuka Beast, Split Tooth, Sand Shifter, and Cold Claw. Now, besides that being an absolute tongue twister, and I never realized Sand Shifter and Cold Claw, how much of a tongue twister that was for me. I've probably edited this video like 5 times. These particular beasts are being too generous considering the required effort to take them down. So they did adjust the loot that you get from them. I honestly don't know what that means as far as adjustment goes, but just know that they did adjust that if you've been farming. Now, moving on to expeditions, this is going to rattle some people a little bit, especially devastators that are having issue at like tier 15. Chem Plant and Boomtown. Let's talk about it. Chem Plant, in order to get gold, instead of 957 seconds, you now only have 650 seconds. That's literally only 10 minutes. So for anybody that was going to Chem Plant and basically just farming that because it's easy to get gold, right? That was like the best way to go if you wanted to farm legendaries at a high level in expeditions. Well, rip to that method, because now you have to do it in under 10 minutes. That's honestly a big adjustment. You look at it, that's almost like 300 seconds. That's almost around 3 to 4 minutes. So that's a big adjustment just for that. However, moving on to Boomtown, it looks like they only adjusted it maybe around 30 seconds. Honestly, not that big of a difference. But again, they just realized that more people were going to Boomtown or Chem Plant, and it was making it very easy to get a lot of, high tier, top tier loot. And they just made some of those adjustments. Now, moving on to critical rating damage multipliers for the tactical assault rifle and the marksman rifle. Now, for the AR, they reduced it from 175% to 165%. Now, honestly, not that much of a difference, but obviously the damage will differ. The big one is the marksman rifle. They went from 300% to 250%, and they actually put a note here that says marksman rifles with 300% crit rate showed up to be dominating multiple crit builds. By making the modifier the same as for a bolt action rifle, we want to offer players more options when choosing what gun to use. So, quote unquote, they basically said, hey, everybody and their mother is using this. Let's go ahead and nerf it a little bit. And then that way other people will try, some other weapons. They won't rely on that as much. Okay, so now moving on to bullet abilities. And this is going to be a very, very big one for this patch. Everybody who plays Outriders knows how important twisted rounds, blighted rounds, or volcanic rounds can be for pyromancer, technomancer, or trickster. So with that being said, they made some big adjustments. What they basically said was the main problem with the bullet-based damage or the bullet-based builds is that they required much less investment to make them top tier compared to other builds. So to achieve the adjustments, what they did is for the trickster and technomancer classes who benefited the most from the bullet abilities power, what they did is they adjusted some of the damage output, and they also adjusted the cooldowns. So if you look at twisted rounds, it went from 16 seconds for the cooldown to 25 seconds. And then for the trickster's hero nodes, disruptor firepower, scion power, or scion of power, outrider executioner have had their power reduced from 50% to 35%, which I think is a little unnecessary, but I understand why they did it. Moving on to vulnerable status, power reduced from 25% to 15%. So rip to the devastator or pyromancers that were depending on that a lot. Now for the technomancer hero tree node, damage against poison has had its power reduced to 15% from 30%. So that's honestly like cut in half. And they noted that with the technomancer's blighted rounds, they don't provide any damage increase on their own other than ignoring armor as anomaly damage. They do provide an excellent tool for spreading the vulnerable and toxic statuses, which in turn can scale out of proportion. I think if you main a technomancer or you've played a technomancer and you've been in expeditions, you know how insane blighted rounds can be. So it should be no surprise that they actually went and nerfed some of that. Now, and then at the end, they have this little tiny kind of, I guess it's a nerf for pyromancers. Trial of Ashes has been reduced from 30% extra damage to 15. So you pyromancers, you kind of got away this time, but I still think there's a couple of things that need adjusted. I'm just being honest, okay? I'm just being honest. So there you guys have it, all of the important notes from the recent patch or update, if that's what you want to call it. Now, you guys in the comments, go ahead and let me know, what did you like? What don't you like? What do you think is fair? What don't you think is, what in the game should be nerfed or what in the game should be boosted? I know a lot of you devastators out there are going to be like, man, I have a long list of things that need to be updated for this class. Go ahead and drop them in the comments below. So who knows, maybe we can get them to the right powers that be and get some of that stuff fixed. Other than that, I would love to know what you guys have to say about the update. Now, as always, we'll continue to do more Outriders content, guides, end game builds, legendary farming, everything you need to know basically about Outriders on this very channel. So if you're not a subscriber, and you're a big fan of Outriders, I definitely encourage you to become a subscriber and hit that like button for more content and more videos. My name is Silverback. Our quest is complete, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.